All right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of the Loose Balls Podcast. I am your host, Chris, and I'm here with my co host, Eli.
Only, of course, another episode of Loose Balls circling back up in this rather off-season type time of year we're finding ourselves in.
Absolutely. And what we're looking at here is we've got some moves, not a whole lot. So we're going to talk a little bit about that, but we figured this time we'd kind of dabble into some fantasy. We
Yeah.
have we have a Dynasty League that we're coming up on, and this will be our first draft. So
Mm-hmm.
some of this won't apply to people that have been in multiple long-term leagues. I'm in a longer-term one already,
Yeah.
but some of it will be relevant if you're just now starting.
Yep.
But first, sad news in the NFL today. The quarterback
Let's hear it.
situation is so dire that Joe Flacco will probably get another job
I
if he
mean,
hasn't already.
uh,
Needs to retire.
yeah, yeah,
Not on anything other than, like, I don't think he's necessarily bad. I think we're just, if we can't find quarterbacks that are beating out almost 40-year-old Joe Flacco, fire your scout team.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
fire your
Yeah,
scouts.
yeah,
Start
exactly.
over.
Yep. Couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more.
Uh, Speaking of quarterback situations, I think I find it personally hilarious. The
Mhm.
Giants, trying to save the Joe Shane and Dayball trying to save their jobs, have gone out and signed 3 quarterbacks this offseason.
Yes, yes, they have.
They've re-signed Tommy DeVito. They've
Yep,
signed Famous Jameis,
yep,
and they also went out and signed Russell Wilson.
yep. I know. Quite a shootout we're going to be witnessing here in this little preseason. I'm excited to see it. Who do you think is going to be coming out on top of this one here?
I think it's Russ because Russ is going to win more of the locker room, but I think Winston will be the better quarterback. So, okay,
Ooh,
Russ will make the defense look better. Winston
okay.
will make the offense look better
Okay. I can see that.
because Russ is going to take what the opposing defense gives them, which means that the Giants defense gets time to rest between possessions, gets
Hmm.
time to kind of recover and, like, get back out there and make plays. Winston's going to make the offense look better because Malik Neighbors is going to get 200 targets this season.
Yeah.
Like, he's just slinging that thing.
Oh, 100%.
And
Yeah.
so
Russ is making that RB look really good. Who do they got now?
it's Tyrone Tracy, wide receiver turned running back, and then they still have Devin Singletary, I think, in the backfield as well.
Okay, nice, nice, nice. Yeah,
So
he's
it's
going to be
just
making them look pretty dazzly, to say the least.
right. And I want it to be Winston because I think Winston at this point in his career is probably, to say a better fundamental quarterback is not correct. But I do
Yeah.
think he's a better NFL quarterback at this point because he can get out of the pocket. He is going to do, like, the Baker Mayfield S stuff where he's going to get chippy. He's going to hype the team up. He's going to be the one that everybody's going to be in, like,
Hmm.
everybody's going to, like, get around in a game. Russ
Yep.
just has the composure and the experience that's going to get them further.
Yeah.
But that being said, it is going to be Russ that's going to be the starter just because he has the experience.
Yeah.
Would like to point out Jameis Winston beat them the last time they played each other. So,
Oh, yes,
hey.
this is true. This is true.
And you could
Yes.
argue that the Browns were the worst team out of the two.
Oh, I don't think that's even a question. I think the Browns are by far the worst team out of the two. I mean, say what you will about Micah, but I mean, he can only make the team so good. It was famous Jameis that got him the win that day, and I don't think there's any confusion about that. You know,
I think you're mixing up Micah Parsons and Miles Garrett.
or yeah, I meant Miles Garrett.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was undoubtedly Jameis Winston that was bringing in the energy, making huge plays. Do I think that's going to be consistent? There's literally no way that that happens, but it's going to be pretty fun to watch.
Hey,
Not
he's
as
had
fun.
LASIK eye surgery since that 30 and 30.
Really?
So, yeah, that
Oh,
was his
come
whole
on.
thing. He keeps coming, people keep harping on him about that, and he actually has a quote where he was like, "Guys, I was blind. Like, I
Yeah,
had to go
couldn't
get
see out of
surgery."
pain. That's too good. I will say though, not even my favorite team coming out of New York, coming up in this here season. I don't know if we talked about Justin Fields going over to the Jets, have we?
We have not. What it really shows is that the Steelers messed up the bag
Yeah.
here.
Mm-hmm.
They wanted,
Uh,
to be clear, this is the way that it's going to break down, is that Justin Fields, the Steelers wanted Justin Fields over Russell Wilson, but the Jets swept that one away by paying him more, and then Russ, realizing he was the second choice, just quietly like excused himself from that deal.
oh man, quite the
Because I
fumble,
mean,
which
like,
doesn't normally happen to the Steelers. I would like to point out here.
I don't know. The Steelers have kind of sucked at quarterback since Ben Roethlisberger left, and even then, it's a stretch to say that like in the end of his career, Ben Roethlisberger was like a star QB in the
Even
league.
then, I would say they're above, 40% of the league. They're not doing horrible.
I don't know. Like if I were to go back and look at Steelers starting QBs, I think they've sucked.
Yeah.
Steelers
But
starting.
I wouldn't say it's necessarily their offense that gets them wins.
That's true. It's always been their defense, but
Yeah.
let's see. Starters per season. Going back, let's see where I can find him. Where is Big Ben?
He's back in what?
Well, I'm looking for the last year that Ben
Uh,
Roethlisberger was the
eh,
starter. 2018, 2020, 2020, really?
It's actually more recent than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, but okay. So, but he's only playing like 2 games at a time.
Yeah.
And then like 1 game. He played 15 in 2020. All right, so starting at 2020, 2021, you have Kenny Pickett,
Yep.
Mitchell Trubisky,
Yep.
Mason
Oh, boy, how could I
Rudolph,
forget these names? Yep.
Russell Wilson, and Justin Fields. Like,
Yeah.
besides Justin Fields, they've kind of sucked at quarterback. Like, Russ
Yeah.
didn't do any favors for them.
Yeah, Pickett didn't do too many favors for him either.
Pickett's on his 3rd team now. So,
Yeah.
like, he's not helping anybody here.
Yeah.
You also have Duck Hodges in 2020, can't forget, or 2019, can't forget him. He also played 6 games.
The
Like,
only person that I can think left a remarkably stinky type of, at least appearance when we break down these names is Kenny Pickett.
that's because he got the most starting time.
Yeah, probably. And even then, when I think of other seasons, I think of other worse QBs.
Well, this one's
not.
about to be the stinkiest one yet because you've got Aaron
Yeah.
Rodgers and Mason Rudolph. That
Yep.
is your.
Hasn't been confirmed, but everything is pointing that direction.
Well,
I mean, who
where
knows
does Aaron Rodgers go from here? Like anywhere else?
Yeah, I
What
know.
other team
It's
needs a QB right now?
That's true. I mean, it's like all but confirmed, but with this
Miles.
news media, we're kind of finding ourselves butting up against here is nothing's quite confirmed until it's there. I mean, we're going to
That's
talk
true.
about some other contracts later that have been kind of falling through, still there, question marks, but
It's not confirmed, but Miles Garrett has tipped the Browns' hand that he knows what the quarterback situation is going to be, and he wouldn't be asking to stay if it was Aaron Rodgers. Let's be clear. Like
yeah, that's true.
he's had his share of like Aaron Rodgers types quarterback. So that means that the Browns have pretty much just like doubled down and said, we're going to draft a quarterback, or we're going to trade and make moves to get a quarterback in here.
Yeah.
You could have argued for the Raiders. You could still argue for the Vikings, but I think that
the Browns starter is Cousins.
They haven't signed him yet.
Thought they did.
No, they have not signed Kirk Cousins yet.
Thought the only 2 QBs that haven't been signed yet are Geno and Stafford.
No, Stafford's signed. Stafford's with the Rams still.
But he hasn't signed anything yet. It's like assumed.
They restructured his contract. No. So the only quarterback that the Browns have is they traded for Kenny Pickett.
Huh.
Yeah. Yeah. No, he's Kirk Cousins was not on this team. Kirk Cousins is also not signed. I also feel like Kirk Cousins is a mid-season addition at this point. Or
Yeah,
they're
that's
both
great.
I mean, they're both sitting there waiting for the draft to happen because Kirk Cousins learned his lesson last time.
True.
Like, I ain't going to a team that's going to draft a QB next, and Aaron Rodgers definitely isn't. And it's one of those
Yeah.
things that it's like, all right, that just limits you so severely
Yeah.
on what you're able to do.
Yeah, that's true. Oh man.
So it's pretty much a guarantee that Aaron Rodgers is going to be a Steeler, and Kirk Cousins is, I don't know, going to be around somewhere until someone gets hurt.
Yeah, exactly. True.
He could be the next card. No, he's going to be a Dolphin. Damn it.
Think so? That's actually a pretty good guess.
Tua has missed multiple games in a row. We're going to watch one game of Zach Wilson, and we're just going to be like, fuck it. Just pay the man. Like, just pay him whatever he wants.
Yeah.
Like, we can't.
Who would you rather have on your team, though? Would you rather have... Ooh. Okay, would you rather have Jimmy G or Kirk Cousins?
As my backup? Like,
Your
for the
backup.
Dolphins. Because we're saying that Tua's
Yeah.
still the starter, right?
Tua's still the starter. Who
I'm
do you
taking
want for
Jimmy
the
G.
backup? Taking Jimmy G?
For the sole fact that I know he can start, I know he can play, but he's not going to take a big hit on our salary cap like Kirk Cousins is. And Kirk Cousins,
Not
everybody's going to
as
be like,
big. Not as
right, not
big,
as
but
big.
he still demands a pretty penny, you know?
I don't know. He's on the Rams right now, and if the Rams can swing him and Stafford, I don't know. I just
Yeah.
don't see it. But it's one of those things that it's like Kirk Cousins has been a starter pretty much since he left Washington. And it's
Yeah.
one of those things that when you have quarterbacks like that, and maybe I'm wrong, but it just feels like right when they're at the end of their like prime where they go into that journeyman backup role, like the Joe Flacco's, like the Aaron Rodgers and stuff like that. Aaron Rodgers still thinks he's in his prime. But like there's always that group that's like Kirk Cousins would have won that game. Like, and it's just
True.
you're talking about a quarterback.
You can't get him to acquiesce either, you know?
Yeah, and you get a quarterback like Tua that has such a confidence thing, and Kirk Cousins isn't running, and that offense is quick passes or get the fuck out of the pocket on your feet. Like,
True.
and Jimmy G broke a shoulder running, so we're gonna commit to that he's gonna run.
Yeah.
Like,
that's true.
So I think I'm taking Jimmy G, if we're being honest.
Okay, all
right. What about you for the Raiders? Well, you had Jimmy G, so you're taking Kirk Cousins.
Jimmy G. I'm taking Kirk Cousins, yeah.
Geno Smith or Kirk Cousins?
Ooh, okay. I'm taking Geno Smith, you know.
Right.
I would say for obvious reasons, you know, obviously the coaching aspect of everything, right?
Right, but it's one of those things that it's like no matter what, like
no matter what, you're taking a hit. Yeah.
You're taking a hit because Kirk Cousins is playing on a bum Achilles still.
Yep. Mm.
He is older now.
Yep.
He's not like he will be a good backup QB. Could even be like a coach, but he's gonna go the route of what like Matt Ryan did, where it's like,
exactly.
or Phillip Rivers, where it's like I could do this one more time, and it's like, nah, you really couldn't.
Phillip Rivers would even be better. You don't really set a pace or a culture with Kirk Cousins or Matt Ryan, you know. I think Phillip Rivers kind of had like that, you know, consistency about him that I don't think could find in those other QBs, but it's definitely not the most comfy. Still more comfy than Deshaun Watson. That's all I got to say.
Well, because Deshaun Watson hasn't touched the field in his 5-year contract. Like, yeah, exactly. How many? I think how many games does he have?
I think less than 12 in the last 4 years.
I know total allegations is winning over touchdowns in the count still. So
100%. Yeah, 100%.
That was an awful move, and the Browns just are going to forever live with that kind of energy where they're just awful
Well, they just got
choices.
this
So,
year. They just got this year.
well, yeah. And then, but it's guaranteed money, so you're paying him regardless.
Yeah, you're paying them regardless.
Yeah. So it's just, damn it. I don't understand.
Yep.
Browns, if you're looking for a quarterback to sit out for 5 years, I'm available. Like, I've never thrown a ball in my life, but I could probably get as many yards as Deshaun Watson did.
Yep, I'll
Yeah.
mix that Gatorade,
Yeah. Hey, we get down to that third string anyways. Who cares?
Mhm.
I go out and
Yeah.
throw 4 picks. Man, that guy's a bum. Yeah, he still made the league, though. Like, I could do it.
Oh, man. True. True.
That just... And
Talk
what is
about
Oh,
I was gonna say, talk about other not feel good signings here. Mark Andrews was confirmed to be moving forward with the Ravens. I don't think to anyone's surprise, but surprising for a new Ravens hater such as myself, right?
we're going to get into this about when we talk about fantasy, but you got to know which positions are going to have depth and which ones are not. Tight end is one of those. You don't need to spend high to
100%.
get a Mark Andrews.
No,
Don't get me wrong.
not.
He probably fits what the team needs very well, but
Yeah.
on like from a viewer
He's a
standpoint,
backup tight end.
yeah, from a viewer standpoint, I mean, last year people were calling for Isaiah Likely, like
Yeah,
give him
100%.
more reps, and then they did. They started to run the 2 tight end set, and all of a sudden Mark Andrews is getting more open. He's not bad by any means.
I mean, he's okay,
He's okay. That's exactly right. Like, he's middle of the pack.
Yep.
And it's just one of those things that some of those players we knew were going to re-sign because of what like they did. Sorry, forgot. My favorite team to poke fun at, the Cowboys, made some signings.
Oh, wait, who'd they sign?
They've fixed their running back problem.
Wait, they had a problem?
I know. Bringing back
That's so
Ezekiel
much
Elliott for less than his salary cap hit was crazy.
Yep.
They fixed it. Now, no, they have signed someone who played, I think, who started probably about 0 games last year, to be clear.
Ooh. All right. Let me guess. Give me a chance here. Okay.
Okay.
Cam Akers.
Oh, that actually would have been a good guess, but I think Cam Akers is started for the Vikings for a couple games, and I think he's still with the Vikings.
All right. Hold up. Cook.
Oh, no. He was on that team already. Don't forget,
Oh,
they
really?
signed him last year.
Oh,
When they cut Ezekiel Elliott, they brought in Dalvin Cook.
Dang. Okay.
But I don't think he's there anymore.
All right.
So they still have Rico Dowdle.
Okay. Nice. Who could they have picked up?
He has played for 2 teams before this.
Okay.
And actually was in a Super Bowl.
Was in a Super Bowl.
Yeah. Was like a flash in the pan for 1 season, was like a great start, and then got replaced really quickly.
Does his name start with a K?
No.
Okay. I'm a little lost now. Who is
It's
this?
Miles Sanders.
Miles Sanders, eh?
Yeah, they signed him after the Panthers decided they were not going to keep him.
Wow.
Yeah, because they have Chuba Hubbard and Jonathan Brooks, which
the classics.
I think we actually talked about the Miles Sanders move when it first happened, and I was kind of like surprised because Chuba Hubbard was a pretty consistent back, not outstanding by any means, but it's like we
leader
don't
in
need
the locker room as well.
Yeah, you didn't need to replace him.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then that's exactly what happened. But also, Miles Sanders had just put up like record numbers with a team that went to the Super Bowl. Like, so it's hard to argue that. And then he immediately fell off.
Yep. Wow.
Frank Reich ruined that man's career.
All right, there you go.
So, poking fun at that. But in return, they lost Brandon Cooks. So their receiver core that was already pretty slim just got slimmer.
Well, at least they paid CeeDee Lamb, right?
They paid CeeDee Lamb, and they've got running back, wide receiver, kick returner from the XFL on their roster now.
That's a
But
little exciting. All right.
to be fair, right, and I think he's one of the few non-kicker players to make it
Ooh, okay.
from the
Nice.
XFL and actually like have a start, because he'll start. They don't
Yeah.
have anybody else, and they're
Yep.
stuck in mediocrity again, where they won enough games that they're not getting a top pick. So it's like,
Classic
and I
Cowboys.
still don't think they've addressed the Micah Parsons thing. And after just watching Max Crosby and Myles Garrett get paid,
True. Micah Parsons.
the
Need
Cowboys are
that.
just going to be. The Cowboys are on their way to be the next Saints, where it's like
Yeah.
all our money is locked
Yeah.
up in salary cap on aging players that we don't know what to do with anymore.
Yep. But hey, even an aging Saints can eventually look like a current Buccaneers. You know.
That's true. But the problem is that the Cowboys and the Saints are in the same boat where they can't, through their pride alone, and the fact that Cowboys owner is older than Donald Trump and Joe Biden right now, could not, their pride alone can't let them suck.
Yeah.
And you just need 2 to 3 years of just absolute like 1-16 seasons.
Yep.
Like,
I mean, look no further than the Patriots. You know, like they're starting their rebuild.
oh, we didn't talk about this one either, I think.
What's that?
Stephon Diggs is about to get destroyed in New England.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I think it's been a little while since we've touched on that one, huh?
We did. He needed to go to a team where I'm trying to think of a good comp. Kind of like Julio Jones when he went to the Bucks, when they had Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and Gronk. Or even like when Gronk went to the Bucks, where it's like every now and then you make a big catch and everybody goes wild.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, oh my god, he's so good. And then it's like, but he's going to a team where he's it.
Yeah.
It's him, a mop bucket,
Yep.
and like a couple twigs running down the
pretty
field
much.
to catch the pass.
All scrambling like a chicken with their head cut off, you know, just.
And it's not going to be wide
going down the
open
field.
catches because the
It's
line
all
can't
gonna be
block for him.
contested.
Drake May's going to be like pinging that thing off his helmet at 2 seconds.
I'm interested to see how Drake May manages this because, like, off the footage I saw preseason last season, he did look like a pretty competent QB, you know. So
Oh, they've got their QB. Now they have to go out and get their receivers, which they're going to go with the draft, which makes sense. But it's like, man.
Yeah.
I think the only thing that would make this funnier is if they just went out and got Cooper Kupp and just went with like the oldest receiver core that they could.
Yeah. Is Patty May still heading up the team?
No, we talked about this last time because we got confused because Gerard Mayo got fired. It's Mike Vrabel.
Oh.
And so I think that's a good fit because I think the Tennessee Titans kind of shot themselves in the foot letting him go. But oh, that's a place. Rodgers could go to the Titans because the Titans hate Will Levis.
Yes, very much so. I mean, it was mainly the coach, but I mean, Titans are down bad, as it were, in the NFL. You know, I feel
Their
bad
quarterback is sponsored by mayonnaise.
Yeah,
like
I feel bad for every Titans fan out there. Like, hey, Titans fans, I've been in your shoes. Just know that. Hey, you're a respected fan base. That's all. That's it. You don't really have too much to look forward to, but hey.
Hey, Titans, I've been in your shoes. Just know it gets worse. It's going to get so much worse before it gets better. I'm sorry. You still have players worth something on your team.
Wait until your team's bad and you have a bad coach. Like, it's the worst.
You know what makes me sad is that the Dolphins are in this point. The Dolphins are also gearing themselves up to be in that, like, we know our window's there. We don't want to suck because Tua is like, Tua's prime is getting smaller and smaller every time he gets hit.
Yep.
But it's also along the lines of just Westbrook Nakine and Jalen Waddle and Jonnu Smith as our receiving core does not inspire a whole lot out of me. And I get it, the Tyreek Hill, Odell Beckham Jr. Waddle experiment didn't work, but
Hmm. I
oh
mean, didn't
man,
work as kind of a stretch. Like it just, it was just the health of the QB. That was it.
that's
That was
true.
it. Yeah. It was fun. It was fun while it lasted. It was always a good watch. But
It's gonna make me sad that the Commanders are gonna be able to create the offense that Mike McDaniel's had in his
yep,
head the whole time,
yep. And it's gonna look even
and it's
better.
gonna look so
Like it
good.
has, yeah, it has like a few more pieces that needed to stir up. Uh, man, there you go.
I don't know the run game. I would give
It's
our
mainly the
run
defense.
backfield
Like the
better.
defense has like longevity there.
That's true, but okay. Sorry, we kind of jumped around a bit there. There was a trade you wanted to talk about, right?
Yes.
We talked about it briefly beforehand.
Oh man, how am I forgetting it now? Okay, so we went through Giants, went through
It was the
um,
Niners.
oh yes, okay, so not Debo Samuel, but
Hang on, let me
uh,
see if I can find his name. If it actually, do you know where he went?
he's still with the Niners. Um so the drama with the team, right, was that, oh, we're gonna trade away um our number two wide receiver to the Steelers. Trade hours before it went through. It's not Elijah Mitchell, is it?
No.
No, that's the RB. Um, a
Um,
quick search could remedy.
that's what I'm looking at. The only trades they have is Jordan Mason, and then they had a trade collapse between defensive lineman Malik Collins. But that was last year. Oh, no, no, no. Malik Collins fell through after Texans agreed to terms with edge rusher. No. I don't know which trade you're looking at, but
Brandon Ayuk, yeah, won't be
was
traded.
it Brandon Ayuk?
Yeah, this is 8 hours ago. Won't be traded to the Steelers. So they run back that trade to quote unquote keep him, but another day later, they are now putting him back on the trading block to try and get him somewhere else.
Oh
So
yeah, because they owe him the money if he makes
yeah,
it. If he made it through today, but now they're stuck with him.
they're stuck with him now. Yeah. So like talk about a mismanagement that you don't typically see from the Niners. Um, but yeah, that'll be pretty interesting to kind of see how Brandon Ayuk kind of ends up this year. I mean, really, it seems as if they just didn't want to give him to the Steelers. Like that was the thing that was kind of holding them back, or Brandon Ayuk just didn't want to go there specifically. Who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, tough kind of trades that we're kind of seeing in this little chapter here. Reported that um, new wide receiver for Steelers,
DK Metcalf.
DK Metcalf tossing the ball with Aaron Rodgers a little bit, shoring up that kind of line that he's going to be there.
It's because
Um,
everybody knows it. Like it's just we're doing this song and dance that it's like
yeah,
the Steelers don't want to commit to him just in case one of like the few decent QBs in what's
yeah,
argued is probably a pretty weak QB class
hmm
falls down to them. But they're
yeah.
picking at like 21.
Yeah, exactly. And Tomlin, I want to say yesterday or the day before, it was like regarding Aaron Rodgers, we're definitely not going to say no to him anytime soon.
Well,
Um,
again, no
yeah,
team is going to say no to Aaron Rodgers, but no team is necessarily picking up the phone going, Aaron Rodgers is our number one guy.
yeah, exactly. Which I like Tomlin going out there and saying, kind of shoring up what this is going to look like. Not really going to have Aaron Rodgers take the reins as far as where the team's going to be going, like he did with the Jets. Um, pretty much saying you don't have to worry about the pre-practice and stuff like that. So yeah, pretty interesting to see how all that's spanning out. I was surprised over here with the Indianapolis Colts that our guy Danny Dimes is getting most of the snaps in practice here.
We talked about this before the pod. I'm not, because Anthony Richardson last season showed that he wasn't ready to be a starter. So
Yeah.
this is the way that the Colts are trying to scare him to actually be like, "Oh, I might not have a job." Problem
Yeah.
is you wasted like a top 5 pick on him.
Yeah.
And when you do that, they normally can find other jobs elsewhere, unless you're
That's true.
Jamarcus Russell.
Yeah. Which I
But
think he could. Yeah.
he probably could. But the other argument, the other side of that is that if Danny Dimes lost his job to Tommy DeVito in New York,
Yeah.
if you can't beat Daniel Jones, you do not deserve to be the starter.
Yeah.
And this is not necessarily a dig at Daniel Jones. I think he's an okay quarterback, but he will forever be a backup.
Mhm.
And so it would be along the lines of, well, it's kind of like last year. Like Joe Flacco probably should have had the starting job, but Joe
Yeah.
Flacco is also old. So this is kind of more so now a real test that it's like, you can't just wait out for Flacco to retire for us not to decide we don't want to pay him anymore. Like,
Yeah.
you have to earn this.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm very curious because this is one of the few NFL quarterbacks that's ever tapped themselves out of the game because they're gassed.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
True.
I don't know if he's going to rise up to that challenge. I really
That's
don't.
fair. That's a good criticism, but like what I was touching on is like even Anthony Richardson's gassed is better than Danny Dimes' best. I mean, literally give Danny Dimes everything he got, and he comes up short every time.
All
You
right.
know.
What if we get a Cinderella-esque season like we get when Danny Dimes got his big contract?
Yeah, I remember this. I remember him being in the tabloids. Him and Trevor Lawrence are right there neck and neck there for a while. Um, yeah, I have no clue. I highly doubt it, but
But
I mean,
so I'm going to use. Sorry, go ahead. Finish your thought.
like I don't know what the measurement of success would be for the Colts this upcoming season. I think that would be like kind of a better way
I mean,
from
with the
a
team they have,
calculated base.
playoffs. They're in arguably one of the weakest divisions in the NFL, and you can't like. Sorry, that's a bit of a drag because I don't think their division's like the laughing stock as it was in the past, but it's still one of the weaker ones. Like anybody could win it.
True. It is the NFC. Yeah.
Yeah. So Daniel Jones, when he got that $40 million 2-year contract or 3-year, or however long it was,
Mhm.
threw 17 touchdowns over over the course of the season. But
Mhm.
I mean, it managed the game enough because they were giving the ball a lot to Saquon that they won.
Yeah.
Jameis Winston last season with the Browns. How many games do you think it took him to surpass that touchdown number?
Oof. I'm guessing 2 games.
I think it's like 4 or 5, but it's pretty close. Like it was like
Yeah.
he went out and he slang that thing. I think he had a couple like 4 touchdown games in there. Like it was.
Okay. Hey.
But
Look at our
so
guy
this
go.
is what I like. Looking for quarterbacks is all relative for what you want.
Yeah.
So I'm sure everybody would be stoked if Anthony Richardson turned into just a more disciplined Jameis Winston, where he's throwing those big touchdown games. But if he
True.
can't, and you have a game manager like Danny Dimes, that he
Or
might
if
get
he
17
turns into a
touchdowns.
Jaden Daniels, let's be frank here.
That's true. But
And-
if he went out, but if you have a game manager behind him like Daniel Jones or starting in front of him, it's a good stopgap. Like you're not throwing away the whole season. You're not wasting Jonathan Taylor's career. You're not wasting Mo Alley Cox and I forget their receivers. They have a couple decent receivers.
I'm surprised you pulled out Mo Alley Cox right there, bro. That's
Because
more
he's the
than
only
I would have
tight
ever.
end.
Yeah, he's the
That's the
only.
only tight end that like they had a 3 tight end rotation, and Mo Alley Cox was the one that I picked up on that I was like, oh, this is going to be it. And then he'd have like one game with 20 points on my bench, and I'd be like, all right, I'm going to start him. And then he would do nothing for 3 weeks because the other 2 tight ends are like...
Yeah, that was the one game that year,
So, no, I have no idea what the Colts are going to be in. Wouldn't even surprise me if they went out and they took like a quarterback in the second or third round. Just
honestly, true.
Shooter's gonna shoot. We got to take a shot here. Like,
True.
So this took quite a bit more time to talk about contracts than I thought it would. We had more go on in the league in the last couple weeks.
Yeah, true. I mean, it's been a little while since we've checked in.
Well, I mean, that's still fine. We can take the last couple minutes to kind of hit on some big like generalizations, like for Dynasty Leagues and maybe some like positions that we think will have more depth than others, and then we can come back and go more into it next episode. But
nice.
I mean, Dynasty Fantasy, you've got to play that numbers game of a nice mix between players who are good at their position and players that are going to play a long time at their position. Because Aaron Rodgers, probably a decent quarterback. Russell Wilson, decent quarterback. Probably not ones you want to take in a dynasty league where your next quarterback isn't going to come for like 3 or 4 more rounds, and now you're looking at JJ McCarthy and Sam Darnold and Trevor Lawrence and stuff like that. So
kind of like how at least you're describing this to how I'm understanding, because I've never done a dynasty. I have done fantasy basketball, however, so it sounds a little closer to kind of how you would play fantasy basketball, as in like, you have your stars, and those are going to be like your long terms, people that if you trade are going to be big trades, but most of the time you're going to be rotating those people that are going to be starting in those games.
To be very clear, if you are not like if you are anything short of like a football guru that knows everybody's roster down to like the third guy on their team, third guy in their position, you're gonna have players on your team that you don't fully know a whole lot about.
Yeah.
It's just how it's gonna go because the team's larger. You're gambling on who's gonna stay relevant and who's gonna be like who's gonna fall short. And then it's just playing the numbers game. Like, it doesn't hurt. If you know you're not going to win, it does not hurt to gamble on rookies and just be like, I'm not going to get first place by the middle of the season, but I could hold on to Bucky Irving. Like, but that's kind of a cheap shot because he was doing really good. I could hold on to Marshawn Lloyd, who played like 2 snaps for Green Bay before going out with IR. Who knows how he's going to do?
Yeah.
So, also, there are positions that will forever have a scarcity, and you're going to want more of those. And there are positions that will have a plethora of players, and you're going to be okay there.
Okay.
But it will change depending on like when we first started this podcast. I think we were in a quarterback down year where all quarterbacks were kind of either getting hurt. It was like we had like 40 quarterbacks starting with like, or it was like between 40 and 60. It was an insane amount of quarterbacks starting.
Yeah.
And you really just were like throwing darts. Something's going to stick. But you got some good players out of that mix.
True. I feel like that's receivers this upcoming year.
I would argue that you could put a team of receivers together based on everybody in the league, and if you didn't get your first pick or your second, there's probably a third pick floating around that's okay. Like, so say you want to, like, there will always be Cedric Tillmans floating around. There will be Hollywood Browns that you might trade for. Keenan Allen will probably be available in a pinch. Like, there will always be guys that are going to get some points. And that's the other part, is like, the scoring is going to look different because you're going to be happy if your bench player that you put in on a flyer because someone got hurt got 10 points versus like, man, every week everybody should be getting 24 points and you're playing the waiver constantly.
Yeah.
Because now you're holding on to players going like, yeah, he's not starting now, but the guy in front of him's 33 years old and is going to retire in the next year.
Yeah. never fun living on that waiver wire there.
No. Actually, I would say probably the scarcest position is running backs right now. Good
Hmm.
running backs. You
Yeah,
can get
solid.
running backs that are going to get you points, but everybody's in a committee now. So
Yeah.
there's very few that are standalone. And the
Hmm.
ones that are standalone are either scooped up right away or aging, and it gets a lot harder to want to commit to them. Like
Yeah, true.
Derrick Henry is good.
Yeah.
He is a pretty much sole running back for the Ravens.
Yep.
Lamar Jackson's going to take some of his yards, but he's
Yep.
also aging. So any season could be his last season.
True.
So would you commit to that, or do you gamble on, I don't know, one of the running backs on the Raiders because they have a young running back core?
Hmm.
Do you? And I mean, there are always some that like stand out. It's like Kenneth
Hmm.
Walker on the Seahawks.
Yep. Or do you
He's
run
young,
with Chuba
but
Hubbard? You know.
right because Jonathan Brooks is injury prone.
Yep.
So what you'll start to see is as people figure out the league that your starting running back's going to get hurt, and you're going to be like, oh, that's fine. I'm going to go to pick up his backup. And that backup's gone. That backup's been gone for 3 or 4 weeks because someone else's starting running back got hurt and they couldn't get
Yep.
their backup. I think I was in one where the entire Niners running back room was gone.
Yeah.
CMC, Jordan Mason, uh, Guerrero, and even the guy after him, like Juznek, was gone.
Hmm.
Like it just gets to the point where it's like, okay, you need you just have to commit to sometimes that your backup isn't going to be from your team.
Yeah. How much do you really try and let the zeitgeist kind of navigate your team in situations like that? Like, say, who knows, you got like spot number 5 in the waiver wire, heard something good about this guy, or do you just go with the highest available point?
It depends on what kind of waiver wire you're in, because if you're in one where it's strictly off of spot,
Hmm.
if you're far enough down, you just wait. Because I guarantee you that everybody's talking about this next guy that's going to step up. There's probably someone else that's also going to go for 40 points that they didn't predict.
True.
Like you could play it. Now, if you're playing one where you have a fab,
Hmm.
a free agency budget where you can put money in, if you're in the fifth spot, maybe you just drop 100 of your 150 on it. I did it for Jerome
Okay.
Ford last year when I had Nick Chubb. I traded for Nick Chubb the season before. They said he's going to have a record comeback
Oh,
time, but he's not
yep.
going to start. And then Jerome Ford popped off
Yep.
in the first couple weeks. I competed with another guy, and I spent 2/3 of my free agency budget on Jerome Ford beating this guy out, and I ended up getting third place in the league because of it. Like
True.
it,
Wow.
so, and it just really depends on the players you're with. Because if you see someone hoarding running backs in your draft, you should probably take a
Hmm.
couple running backs because that
Yeah.
dude's going to be the guy that's going to hold on to everything. Or you
Hmm.
gamble. You gamble that the rookie that they passed on, like the Tyrone Tracy's that are backing up Devin Singletary, are actually going to end up being starters by the end of the season.
Yep.
And so when you draft and when you look at these positions, you're just now looking more at players. Like you're not drafting them because they're immediately good. You're drafting them based on not only do you think they're going to be good and they've shown flashes,
Mhm.
but how the rest of the team's doing around them.
Yeah.
Because I'm trying to think of a good receiver one that would make sense here. Take your pick.
Uh, yeah.
Like DK Metcalf going to the Steelers.
Yeah. Tyler
Who's their
Lockett. Yeah.
quarterback? Like,
Okay.
who's the quarterback going to be? Is that quarterback really vibing more with George Pickens? Because if so,
Hmm.
maybe I'm not taking him. Maybe I'm
Yep.
going down to Jacksonville where Gabe Davis has gone from just a streaks man to actually
Hmm.
catching passes.
They're number 1. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That also applies to rookies. Rookies going to teams where they're competing against guys who are getting older or stuff like that. Like anybody right now
Yeah.
going to the Patriots, you probably are looking at considering picking up
Yeah. And
because
Yeah, I was gonna say, and consider it lessons learned, at least for me as well. Also pay attention to teams that are taking a chance on a rookie, you know? So, um, like for the example of the Raiders this last year, picking up Brock Bowers, the best tight end rookies we've ever seen, right?
Right.
Yeah, so definitely keep an eye on positions that teams are really reaching for, you know, or are just keeping their stock in the mock drafts or their draft board that they initially had, you know?
Right. And what it comes down to is don't buy the hype.
Yeah, don't
Because
buy
don't
the
get me
hype. Yeah.
wrong, a perfect example of this is the three wide receivers that were taken in the first round last year. Four if you count Xavier Worthy in
Yeah,
the
true.
30th pick.
Hmm.
But the three big ones were Marvin Harrison Jr., Malik Neighbors, and Romo Duze.
Yep.
And Marvin Harrison Jr. struggled, not to
Struggled.
his
Yep.
own fault, but to the faults of the team. So that one's like you're looking at it, it's like the Cardinals are okay. Like I
Yeah.
don't know how I feel about Kyler Murray.
Their
Maybe I
yeah,
don't.
their depth just wasn't quite there, and Kyler Murray, you know, just wasn't able to quite get that rhythm. Um,
Romo Dunze was buried
yep.
in a receiver core
Yep.
of oh my goodness, I can't think of the starting receiver. It was Keenan Allen, Romo Dunze, and the guy they traded from the Panthers for.
Oh,
I can see him.
yeah.
He's had like 1,000-yard season every year for them. I just had a trade offer in one of my league in my dynasty. Oh, DJ Moore.
DJ Moore. Yep.
DJ Moore. So, and don't get me wrong, Romo Dunze is probably going to be good, but he's not going to
Hmm.
go to the coach or to Caleb Williams and tell him I need more. I need more targets
Yeah.
because DJ
As
Moore
you
is going
know.
to tell him, "Shut up." That's why they're paying me the big bucks.
Yep.
Like I'm getting paid the money to go catch the pass. You are the
Yep.
secondary option. Um, but then you have Malik Neighbors, who was on a team that had no run game, had a
Hmm.
pretty good defense, so you knew they were going to throw the ball. Their
Yep.
receiver core was okay, wasn't great. It was kind of the perfect storm of, well, how can we make this work? Like,
Yep.
and he got a lot of targets.
Hmm.
All three had hype, but only one of them panned out. So it's
Yep.
really looking at the situations.
Yeah.
Like the Cardinals stunk, but had a good running back, so you knew they were going to lean on them.
Yep.
The Bears had too much talent around Romo Dunze that
Hmm.
Caleb Williams was kind of able to pick who he was going to throw to. The Giants had an okay receiver core, had a mid running back room. Devin
Yep.
Singletary wasn't moving the needle for anybody.
Yep.
So it's like, okay, this guy's immediately stepping in as the number one receiver on a team that's going to have to throw the ball. And so I don't know, it you don't have to buy the hype that everybody was in on Marvin Harrison Jr.
Yeah.
So um I don't know what else is there. Don't be afraid to stack positions.
Yeah.
Like
Exactly.
if you are not sure and you're taking flyers on a lot of rookies, just
Yeah.
commit. Commit
Yep.
to it. Like
Mm.
cuz guess what? At the most dynasty leagues have a taxi squad where you can put two spots in for free, and if they don't, if your rookies suck,
Hmm.
you can always drop them for first year, second year players that are starting to get their starting spots as older players get hurt.
Yep.
And then the last one before I kind of just end my little tirade about Dynasty, and then we can get into more into players and positions next week,
Mhm.
is try to avoid drafting from your team as much as possible
100%.
because everybody has that like, oh, this is on my guy's team. I watch him a lot. He's good. He's going to pop off. He's worth more than what he is. Then you're going to try and get greedy in trades. You're going to
Yep.
try. You're going to always want to start him because he's good. Guess what?
Yep.
Your
You're
guy
gonna trade your
probably isn't
picks
as good as
away.
other people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Uh,
It's not worth it.
and just if you are going to take them, treat them in fantasy like they're any other player. Like
Yeah.
you don't have a favorite team in fantasy. You can have a favorite team outside of it. You do not care here because guess
Yep.
what? Me as a Dolphins fan, I had Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle at one point, and I
Yeah.
traded them both away because it's like Jalen Waddle at the time was a mid-tier wide receiver, and Tyreek Hill was getting old, and
Yep.
so it's just one of those things that it's like, how can I improve my team? and I took realistic trades for it, and it ended up, I think, wrapping all the way around. By the time everything was done, I was able to swing in for the first overall pick that then turned into Lamar Jackson, DJ Moore, and Kenneth Walker. So it's like,
Wow.
you just have to be willing to give up on, not give up, but like let go. And there's a chance that they'll come back around, because guess what? They're not going to be on every week, every season. They're
Yeah.
going to have down years, and then you can be the guy that comes in and lowballs the trade to get a player back.
Yep.
So,
I was also going to say another no-brainer tip is don't just draft the name, you know? Like if you find yourself be like, oh, I heard about this player. This is like goes for like super new people that don't really have too much experience at all in fantasy. Don't just draft the name. Typically, they're going to have a breakdown of expected points. Try and go off that instead of, oh, I've heard of Aaron Rodgers. He has to be good, you know?
right.
Yeah.
It's just, yeah. So, uh, yeah. And just do some research with that. Like, just know, like, Aaron Rodgers at one point in time was a 2-time MVP. Just know that that is not the same guy now. Like, just
Yeah.
any kind of research. If you were just starting out in fantasy, even if it's in the draft, just click on their name and then just go to history and look at those points. And if they are not great, you don't need to take them, because chances are everybody else also knows that Aaron Rodgers isn't great. So, yeah, that's kind of my 2 cents. Do you want to kind of hit some hot takes and get on out of here?
Ooh, okay. Hot take, hot take. Let's see here. I would say, I mean, how hot of a take can we go here? I guess my hot take will be that we see. Actually, you know what? Hot take here. Aaron Rodgers does not find a team in this offseason.
But he does find a team, though. Not this offseason, but maybe like when the season starts, like someone like gets hurt in like the first couple weeks, and it's like,
That's
yeah, we need a
acceptable.
guy. Yeah,
that's
okay. I got a 2 for hot take here, because 2 things
Okay.
have to happen.
Mhm.
Jameis Winston's going to win the starting job.
Oh, okay.
Everybody's going to be hyping him up. Danny Dimes is going to be the starter for the Colts when they play the Giants in New York.
Ooh, okay.
Danny Dimes is going to
Alright.
absolutely bury his former team.
Oh yeah, I could see that.
Everybody's gonna be like, "Why did we trade this guy? Like, what
Yep.
do we?" Like, he's gonna
Mhm.
bury the
Yep.
Giants,
Yep. Giants
and then
fans
he's
are
gonna get
not going to
paid.
be happy about that.
No, but at the same time, everybody's gonna get mad. I think everybody's just mad at the Giants head, like staff in general. So
Yeah.
there's no way that this could have been well, because if Jameis Winston goes out and absolutely torches Danny Dimes, it's like, why do we pay this guy in the first place? Like, he's awful. Like, it's just.
Yep. True.
So, yeah, that's my take here. So,
Like it.
all right. Well, that's kind of it for us. So, we'll catch you
Yeah.
all next week with,
And
I'm sure we'll have more. We thought there wasn't any fantasy news or
I
any
know. Yeah.
league moves, and then all of a sudden we talked for almost 40 minutes about it. So,
Yep.
all
I
right.
know, yeah.
We will
Yeah.
catch you all next time. Later.
Until next time, later.